Hello, good morning, MA. How are you today? So just give me one more second. I want to set up some things. So I knew that this would happen. This is like the everyday morning part. Set up. I call it lovely the pink screen because somehow my HDMI cable has some problems usually in the morning. Don't know why. Way better. I'm doing extremely well and welcome to this channel, Mohammed. How are you? Good morning, Mojo. How are you today? Had a good start in the day already? That works. Great stuff. So let's see, today I'm a bit more prepared. Yesterday we had our fantastic internet disconnect, which was amazing. So I was sitting there without internet like 1 or 2 hours. Thanks Vodafone in Germany. It was horrible. I changed my internet provider for January. I'm really looking forward to it. Not sure how this turns out, if it's getting better or worse, but you know, we have to try. You feel amazing. That's a good thing if you are feeling happy. Cool. So you work as a full developer in Flutter, and now on the weekend you learn more, Mohammed? Good. So if you have never attended to this stream, and I know it's now 5 days into it, so I will give you a short intro what we want to do and where we are standing. So we create a flashcard app. Or we created already a flashcard app. It not looks like much, but it does already everything we need. And the cool thing about it is that this flashcard app has now, well, we read our data from a Google spreadsheet. And the cool thing is every one of us can contribute to that. So by creating an Excel sheet, down in the video description below, you find 2 links, one to the GitHub repository and one to the spreadsheets in Google Cloud. And the cool thing, if you create now a spreadsheet, it will automatically be imported into our application. And the idea is that we have on one side the hint, and on the other side, on the back side, we want to show the answer for several things. And in the meantime, perfect. So that's the best time to learn Flutter, I guess, if you are starting still with the academic part. Cool stuff. So, and we want to create that app where we flip the card, and on one side we will show one column of the spreadsheet, and on the other side we show another column of the spreadsheet. Also, we want to write some tests in the meantime so that our application will be stable in the end, and everything is open source, so with an MIT license, so you can freely use it and yeah, enhance it if you want to. The only thing is that you please add the license from myself into it. Okay. So besides of all that, I would recommend to just jump into code and let's have a look where we stopped yesterday. So as I said, it was a little bit in the middle because we wanted to finish actually a feature, but in the meantime, the internet crashed. But to give you a short overview how the app at the moment would look like, we have to fix first some things. So we were at the moment to make this spreadsheet ID dynamically so that if we start the app, we can see like a list of different spreadsheet elements and names. And now we want to pass that into the home page. So we have the possibility to load our flashcard service here. And as you see at the moment, the flashcard service is red. The reason is we want now to have this spreadsheet ID inside of here. And the good thing is I had some time to think about the whole part, and I came yesterday to the idea that this is maybe not the best solution here. By the way, if you have any questions, so depending on a whole different topic, please feel free to ask them at any time. I will take my time to just jump into the question and have a look if I can help you there. So I did that with the spreadsheet ID, and this was a bad idea actually, because our flashcard service is not really interested in this spreadsheet ID. We can do that a bit better. And how can we do that better? Well, if you see, we always ask the sheet repository when we want to call a specific spreadsheet ID. So instead of giving it into the call here, we could also say, hey, this is a dependency. So someone from outside needs to pass in the spreadsheet ID into this service. And why is this a better place? Because we don't have to change so much. And we can have now here inside this spreadsheet ID. So whenever this sheet repository gets generated, we want to have a spreadsheet ID. So let's have a look where we initialize that. We initialize it in the files repo. And okay. So, and this comes now to a problem because our get files is here inside. That's a bit sad, of course. Hey, Shrita, nice to see you. Oh, that's so small, I have to... here is it. So, what way better, Freshta. So now we have only the problem with the dependencies because our file service is accessing the sheet repo in order to get the files. But now we see maybe that the sheet repo is not the best location for this method here. So this is maybe the moment or the latest moment where we would have to rethink our structure a bit. So I would say this get files should be somewhere else and we would have a different repository for that, like G drive repo.dart. And that makes it just very clear that we get our data now from the Google Drive. And I move that here and create a class G drive repo. And inside of here the method can be, and we have to import some parts, like for example the drive API. The init we don't need at the moment, but we have to create the drive API here inside. And this currently we have here, and we don't really need that in this sheet repo anymore. So it can be part of here. So, and beforehand we had this init and we put this client inside. The reason is we needed a client for both services. So it's maybe not a good idea anymore to have this client part here in the init part. On the other side, we could keep it the same way for now and then improve it as we go along. So we take that over to the Google Drive repository. We don't need the sheet here, but we need the auth repo. So we have no possibility to come along with that. We need that part here. So, but also this can be enhanced later. If we use something like get it, for example, we could inject that a bit cleaner and have this auth repo as a dependency injected. We currently don't do that. It's maybe a bad idea, but I want to first finish a little bit the service before we come into the next cleanup phase. Okay, so we use that out repo to get our registered client, and with that we set up our Drive API. Only downside, we need our Google Drive repos constructor to initialize that one, and we have a late future of init, which will be a future of void, and we have to pass that inside of here and say this is equal, and with that we get this method and we execute that. Good, now we can wait inside of the get files for the init, and with that we know that we have the is it not? We don't have it this way. Okay, so now we wait for the init, and that means down here we know that we have the Drive API up and running and we can use it directly. All right, so there is a spelling issue. I think it's Google Drive. Perfect. So that was already a lot for the first couple of seconds. Sorry for that. I know we had yesterday the crash and that leads now to all these following issues. So we have to remove the drive here. We don't need it actually. And from the services that depend on that, so this one does not receive a spreadsheet ID anymore. Good. But the service will receive one now. And you will not get this one. You get a G drive repo. And you want nothing. But why are you red? Ah, of course, because the G sheet repo is it. Now, but with that, we should be clean here again. Ooh. way better. Good. Our UI is still a bit broken. The reason probably because we have to pass in the spreadsheet ID now. And the spreadsheet ID comes from up here. And at the moment we have it inside of our widget. So to receive it, we can now say widget.spreadsheet ID. And here we have to say that this is a string. And it is required. Good. It seems that we cannot access the widget when we are in the initializer here. So we have to move that a little bit around. And this one is late. And inside of our init state, we want to set that now. So this one is our flashcard service equals to, so flashcard service equals to this. Okay. So now this should be set and we have the right spreadsheet ID inside. So making a model class for the API from scratch or use third parties like QuickType to generate it to save time. Which one is better, do you think? I don't know QuickType at the moment, but I know things like freeze and let's have a look. What is QuickType? Maybe it's something I should know. QuickType. JSON into George's type save. Ah, nice. That's a very tough question. I would recommend to use such tools actually, because usually they are pretty strong and you don't lose anything for it. You generate also directly the mappers from get.json and from JSON. So in general, I would recommend to use these tools. There is no difference why, or no problem why you shouldn't use it. Because most of them are automatically generated, and the reason I didn't know that is a shame actually, because you can pass that into anything. Or Dart, do you have also TypeScript? Yeah, cool. So that's pretty awesome. So you can interfaces, you have this. That's pretty good, I would say, pretty neat. Convert to JSON, nice. Wow, that's maybe a bit lot, but yeah, you have to make sure that you know what you are doing with that stuff, because I can imagine that a lot of these things are pretty cool that you have it, but yeah, if you don't completely understand everything, it's maybe not a good tool to use directly. Hey Darshan, I hope that answers your question. So I would always recommend to make your life easier. If it helps you, use it. If it blocks you or makes you slower, then you should maybe rethink your behavior or you're using it. Okay, so our file service now uses this drive repository. We initialize that one. The sheet repository can now be a bit more cleaner, I guess. So we have this one. We have the Sheets API and the init. Good, fair enough. Where are they going down to? Ah, nice, okay. So, and with that, we have the results, we get that back. What we wanted to do is we receive the files now and we can start up our application now again, I hope. And then I will fix the test. Hey, Mahtab Rayas AA4025. Hey, Fia. Hey, in the morning everyone is online, that's great. How are you doing all together? Did you have a good start this Saturday? So, if you have not been part of this stream so far, we create a Flashcard App project that gets its information from Google Drive. And we use this Google Drive to read all the information from our Google Drive. Let's go quickly there and then we can see. So why I don't see it now? Google Drive, G Drive. Ah, here we go. Go to Drive. Go to the right email account. Here we go. So Flashcard App. We have now currently 2 lessons, and in English we have lesson 2. And someone removed my lesson 1, which is pretty sad. So why is it removed? I think we can get that back somewhere. Activity. An item and hello world. And I don't know, placed in. So where is this one now? That is mean. Okay, maybe I have to reduce the rights. It has been moved to my drive. Interesting. So file, move back. Can I do that? Move to Flashcard App. Learning English, move there, move. So can I reduce the rights here? Not sure about that. No, I don't think so. So it's only editor rights. Okay, so thank you to for moving my stuff yesterday. But what you can see is we have now this lesson 1, for example. Left side is the hint. So that is what we are doing in German. And on the right side, you see the answer to the different things. So, and I shared the link to this flashcard more or less inside of the stream, and you can get that too. So I pass it here. So you have also a possibility to add here. It's 11 o'clock there. Okay. So for me, it's 7:13 at the moment. So pretty early in the morning. So, and what you can do is, for example, adding more information, or if you want to learn India, for example, or I have no idea about India. So what we could do is learning Indian. No, Hindi is the language, or the main language, I guess. One of the main languages. Sorry, I have to be careful. So, and inside of here, we could create a new Google spreadsheet. Create and share. And inside of here, we can then add a name, Lection 1, Hello World. And we would, for example, have here German, or no, in this case, Hindi. And on the sideways, we would have German, for example. So, and then we would Google Translate it, because as I said, I have no idea. I think Estuti, but I think that is also Sri Lanka language. So it's all a bit difficult for me. So let's see, we want to have English to Hindi, there it is. So let's turn that and say, hello world. Okay, Namaste Dunya. Nice. Namaste? Ah, Namaste. Of course I know Namaste. Ah, Max, you should know some things. So that would be English in that case. So hello is in this case Namaste. Or we can also add the this symbols. I don't want to say something wrong. So let's take it as symbols. And if we add that now, we get this as a hint. And this is our English phrase for it. Ah, Tamil is also the, yeah, right. In southern India, it's Tamil, which is even better because southern India has the better food. Sorry. I have to say that. Or at least I didn't get honest North Indian food, I guess. So, back to that part. Now that I got problems with the other half of India. Sorry. So if I reload quickly, we can get that we all get all the different files. So we have Lecture 1, Hello World. Of course, we should maybe have the folder structure above it, but at the moment we don't have it. So if I go into it, we currently just show the ID that we need to call. So inside of our homepage, no, not of the homepage, in the lesson selector, we print at the moment only the ID. But what we want to do is navigate. And we want to navigate to the homepage with the right navigation ID. Mughal food is also good. Let me Google that because I have no idea. I only know one Southern India restaurant here in Germany, and it is in Frankfurt, and it is amazing. So Mughalian Empire food. Ah, Mughal is Mongolian, right? Or can I say that? No, it's also, no, it's completely, oh, sorry. I have no idea. Oh yeah, and I have to admit the best Indian food so far I got in Japan, which was crazy. I was in Japan, Tokyo, and we were eating there and we got naan that was made from heaven. It was so good, delicious like crazy. I love naan. Okay, but now I get hungry and I'm already getting problems with a lot of people, so I have to be careful now. So let's go back here and so we have that, and if I click now here, we don't navigate or do something. So what we want to do here is navigate to the home screen with the correct spreadsheet ID. And if we do that, so now we could write here navigator punct push, and I don't know, whatever push named. But the problem with that is if I would do that, I would write it here and always. Another solution would be, and this is usually the preferred way for me at the moment, if I use Navigator 1.0, of course, if I use the other one, we have to change that. We can create a method in this home page that is called, that is a static method, navigate to, and we don't pass anything in. The only thing we need is the context, and this method is static. And the reason for that is I want to call now homepage navigate to, and then we want to navigate to this homepage. So now I can use the navigator.push, and what I can push is the context as we know it, and the route, which is a material page route for me. So we need the builder, of course, but give me a second. So here inside we have the builder method, the builder constructor part. As you know, a builder is always passing a callback with a context inside and returns usually a widget. So in our case, we return the home page. And add the spreadsheet ID, and the spreadsheet ID needs to be passed here too. So we need a spreadsheet ID. Without that, we cannot live. So this is a string, by the way, just to make it clear, and pass it in here inside. Okay, and with that, we have already our navigation. We have capsuled it inside of the homepage, so nobody else can navigate here. And we can now say homepage dot navigate to, and the spreadsheet ID that we receive. And as we know, the spreadsheet ID comes from the possible lecture index dot ID. So that should actually work. So this is an ID. Why is it not working? Because we need a context. So the context need to be passed in. Good. Hey Ambresh, nice to see you. Wow, really? That is a real feedback. I love that. If it helped you during your final exams and your final projects, I'm pretty happy if my videos could help you there. That is the things what I'm working for. Okay, so thanks to this navigate to, we have this capsuled, it's all gone, we don't see too much from it. And the good thing is we can now navigate here without too much code and hassle. So, of course, we could also use libraries like router and things like that, but for now we just want to have an MVP, so we keep it as simple as possible. So let's have a look how it looks if I click now this icon. So it takes a second, and after that, so we navigate too early, then we see some random text, and after that, if we load it, we see now our Hindi information, namaste, and if I click, we get hello. Now I can accept it or not, and depending on what I'm doing, I get this congratulations screen, which is completely off the limits at the moment. But the great thing, as you can see it already, it's extremely versatile because we can now do everything we want. So we can improve that very easily. Also, we can enhance it with more lections as we go, and every one of us can help here and improve that. So it is a real open source project where knowledge is for free, and I really like the idea. Another thing, we started already with this Flutter part. So inside of here, we could have then more lections that we can create, like stateful widgets. And then we can just a widget which contains local state, all variables, usually with 2 classes, 1 state class and 1 widget class, something like that. And you see, this is already getting longer and longer from the text. And I will answer your question in a second, Jishik, if this is okay. And in the meantime, if I go now to fun and hike, I think widgets, if we load, we click here, and at the moment it looks a bit off, but we get the whole text. So we have enough space for everything, and we can work with that now. So the UI is already, or is still a little bit ugly, but our feature set is already pretty promising, right? So that is pretty cool, actually. Okay, so now let's fix the test. And I think you will not be working anymore because you don't want to be in the flashcard service. And with that, the test should be already fine again. Is that so? Okay, yep, 5 tests are running green, all good. And with that, we should have already a pretty stable idea here. Cool. I pushed that still up quickly, and with that, we finished our feature. Read files from Google Spreadsheet. Commit that. And this is the typical. Oh, perfect. Okay, should I learn Kotlin or Flutter? Well, that depends, of course. And you need to make sure that you understand what both of them are. Kotlin is a programming language. So it is a complete language with everything. Flutter is a framework. So that means it is something built on top of something. And what you actually ask if you should learn Dart or Flutter or Kotlin, because Dart is the programming language behind of Flutter at the end. So if you want to know something of Kotlin and Flutter, if you want to compare that a bit better, you can ask for Jetpack Compose. And I think Jetpack Compose is more or less the equivalent of Flutter, and where you can create with Kotlin everything that you do with Flutter actually. So your question would be better if you ask for Jetpack Compose compared to Flutter. And my answer, that still depends heavily. Jetpack Compose at the moment is, or the things in Kotlin is only available for Android development. So you will have only one system that you support. With Flutter and Dart, you currently support multiple systems like macOS, Windows, Linux, iOS, Android, and so on and so forth. Of course, at the moment, we are still mostly bound for the front end or for the mobile devices, but also web is supported soon, or at the moment, I think. So that heavily depends on what you want to achieve in the long run. But in any case, I would recommend you to take a look first at the programming languages like Dart or Kotlin. And after you know and understand what a programming language is and how it works, then you go further with a deeper framework. Okay, Max, do you have any idea about Flutter branch plugin? Let's have a look. Flutter branch. So the short answer is no. Is it branch? Ah, branch.io plugin. I think you mean this one, right? Yeah. Flutter plugin implements branch.io's SDK. So the first question would be, what is branch.io? Enterprise mobile growth. Digital brand grow on branch. Okay. No, not at all. Never worked with it so far. Sentry Brace Facebook. Okay. But it seems pretty interesting, so maybe I create a video for that. So I put that on my holdback list. Thank you, Ambresh. So I put that also in choose, new folder, possible video ideas. So save. Oh, what was that? The repository has been archived. Huh. Why is it archived? That looks not good, to be honest. Okay. So probably they have moved it into the Flutter branch.io. So it seems not supported anymore, actually. So I would be careful by using this package. The Flutter branch SDK is maybe better. Not supported yet. Configuration, some text. And if we take a look into the repository, yeah, it looks better. But also here, 6 months. Is this insights? Just be careful. Okay. So now we have that. Let's have a look here. We can now click on that. So I don't like the first initial, well, loading spinner, I call it. So yeah, I can imagine. I will take a look into. It's just said that the support seems to be a bit stale. So I just mentioned be careful, because sometimes it could be that you run into a dead package, and that would be very a shame, because you have to then do a lot of things yourself at the end. Okay, so we have to push, we have the spreadsheet. If we are coming into it to get the first cards, we ask for this all cards is finished, and then we showed something. The problem is, at the moment, we call always this question and answers list. So this await, we need to wait for that longer. So, and before this is not running through, we are not allowed to show anything. So we would have here a future of void again in it. And now we can use for example, this one is init equals. I could now say, why are you red? Because of late, of course. And you be init. I think it can be even private in that case. So, and this init, we need to wait for before we show anything. So the problem is this image pointer here with the card flipped and whatever, or better even this expanded here, all cards finished, could be inside of a future builder. So this column here currently shows the card flipped, some buttons. So this column could be wrapped in a future builder. But you know, before I doing that and and increase more features into it, I will revert that quickly. And we have that committed. And let's have a quick look into our to-do tasks that we wanted to achieve in this MR. So navigation system, where we select the correct folder and file to ask for values. Okay, we nearly did that correctly. The only downside, we currently don't have any folder structure, which is a bit a problem, I guess. It didn't hurt in the beforehand, but now I feel like there is a mistake somehow. So what we could do, and this is maybe a good idea, is inside of our lesson selector, we currently use a list view separated. And this creates items and it creates a separator. And what we could do is we could ask if this files that we receive, or that what we receive from this possible lecture is a folder, then we show a separator, if this makes sense. So for example, if the index equals to 2, for example, then we return the const divider, else we return nothing. So can we return null? No, it's not allowed, so sized box. So that means we have now only separator when the index is 2. So what we could do is have at least the folders, and here adding the folder name somehow. My screen is not showing properly. Oh, that's bad. Let me have a look. It looks okay from my side, so what's the issue? Maybe a network issue. Oh, that would be horrible. Let me have a look. So my stream tool tells me everything is okay-ish. Okay, that's a problem, of course, but I don't know how to fix it at the moment. Let me quickly try this one. So here and back. Does it work now better? Sorry, it's something I cannot fix at the moment. Okay, but if we get this information, we could maybe inside of the separator write some text. So instead of having a divider, we would have maybe a list tile. And this list tile would have a title where we add a text like folder name. Something like that. And now it's still yellowish and it needs braces, I guess. Yeah. So, and if we check it out now, that would be something like this. So the only downside is now good. Oh, perfect. Great stuff. Maybe YouTube had some hiccups. Sometimes that happens. So the only downside at the moment, this would need to have a bit like a distinguishable part, right? It is not really easy to understand that this is something else. So what we could maybe do is changing the background color. Does it have something like color, decoration? No. Style is the text style, text direction, key, local, overflow, soft wrap style. Not really. So probably what we need to do is wrapping the whole thing with a container. And this container we can now color a little bit. So for example, we just use color dot gray, for example. Green with accent, something like that. So exactly. So this could be a possibility that we have like the separator of the file names and then have a different color. Okay, so the idea is there. So how can we do that? So if we check, we get this get possible lectures here from the file service. And inside of here, we currently map everything and we get the files, but we don't get the folders because we just we collect all the files where the MIME type is spreadsheet. And what we could do is having the same call where we get the folders. Does that make sense? It would be better if we create the tree structure immediately here inside. So for example, that we have a folder, 2 files in it, a folder, 2 files in it. Or what would be the best option here? Let me think quickly. So if I take a look into here and we make a breakpoint, we close off quickly the app and restart in debugger, just that we can read it, then what do we get? We get the files with different MIME types. And at the moment, I just check for spreadsheet. So how could we create that best? So, yeah, let's go back to that. And here inside we have our information, so files, for example. And here inside we can find out if this is a spreadsheet or a folder. No? Why is it not opening up? Probably because my breakpoint is badly set. Okay, so I would need to make that somewhere up here. And what we can do in the meantime is just asking for result.items. But it's also blocked by the where. Unlucky. So, now result, we have the files here, which are not load, which comes now. And please, now we can see all. Fair enough. So, and we have here the spreadsheets, but if I Google a little bit down, we can also see IDs, we have the drive file, we have this one. So this MIME type tells us if it is a spreadsheet, or for example here we have a folder, then in the MIME type we find folder at the end. So do we have children? So we have parents, that is for sure, but do we have also children somewhere? Spaces, user permissions, kinds label, a tag, created, capabilities. How do I know that a folder contains something? Marked, viewed as owners, permissions. So the folder is learning Hindi? Or does it come sorted? Like for example, we have here one, no, not really, right? So this is a spreadsheet, it comes unsorted. Or do we know the parent of the file? Ah, we know the parent of the file. Parents, we get a parent, and this has a reference to a link. Okay, so this is a file's parent reference. Oh, I'm not completely sure. So what do we have else? Spaces? No, this is just a drive. Thumbnail, title. So if I copy that value and put that inside here, usage limit. Daily limit exceed unregistered. Daily limit of unauthenticated use. Continue use required signups. Oh. Okay, interesting. So let's get to the developer console. Developer. Where do I get the Google APIs on Flutter? It seems that I got a little bit hacked and they used my whole quota for today. Would be a bit unlucky, but we can handle that, of course. So let's see, we have to getting started, and I think somewhere here was the console. Exactly, and there you can see the pike. But also this was not really much, of course. Sheet service 3 days ago. So how does it look like here? Go to the APIs overview. No, that's not really much, so nothing happened here. That's actually, it should be possible to get this information. That's really odd. Login required, okay. No, that's not it, actually. I would expect more, to be honest. Some traffic, but this is not anything crucial or problematic, actually. So these parents doesn't help me, it seems like. That's odd. So how can I... This is an owner. This is who owns it. This is me, more or less. This is the name. Capabilities. Can child... No, this is not only what we can do on it. So let's see. That means the Drive API needs maybe to have something else for us. So Drive API, what does it deliver for us? We have the files about parents resource. Get from file ID string parent ID. List file ID future parent list. So with that, we could say which is the parent. And what we could do is if we return this and we have the service, we would not return a list of files. We would maybe return something else. Because at the moment we do the file information mapping here inside. But what we could do is having here a final string parent folder name or something like that. And now we have to pass that in. And yeah, you just get an empty string for that at the moment. But the idea would be that we get the files here and we need to pass in also somehow the value. So how can I do that? We get the file, but we need more. Actually, we want here already the list of file information, actually. So that's a bit unfortunate. Maybe we cannot leave it like that, but let's have a look. So at the moment we file, we check only for the spreadsheets, then we make it to a list. But now what we want to do, we don't want to return that. These are our, this is now the list that contains our spreadsheets. So final spreadsheets equal. So this is where the spreadsheets are, but now for each spreadsheet, we need to know the parent file name. So how do we get that? We get it by asking the Drive API once more, and we need to ask for the parents. We can also ask the children. Maybe this is a better way. Properties, replies. Maybe it's better to ask for the children. What do I get if I ask for children? Then I have the possibility to list all of them and ask for the folder ID. So what we could do is we could change that to from spreadsheet to folder. And then we have here our folders. And for each folders, do we want to make it for each? We want to make it for multiple calls, and then we want to get all the files, and then we create the file information. So we have our list of file information, we call it T for now. Can rename that even later, easy. So, and now we want to have for each, and we want to wait folders, for var folder in folders. We want to ask for that. This will be an await function. So we get the folder dot, and here there should be chill. No, we just need the ID of the folder, like that. Or let's quickly kill the debugger. I think we don't need it at the moment. So we get this. The folder ID is a string or could be null. So if folder equal null, then we continue. Return. No, that's not it. The argument string star can't be assigned to parameter string. Okay, the ID can be null, right? So that's the problem. So if the ID is null, we have to check that beforehand, I guess. So we have the final folder ID, which is this. And if the folder ID is null, then we continue. And here we pass in the folder ID, which cannot be null anymore, right? Not this folder ID, of course, this folder ID. So finally, okay, now we got our folders ID, and we should receive from that a list of children. What do we get? Child list, and the child list contains an e tag, the items, the list of children. If next picture or incomplete, an additional page is resulted. This is always drive, okay. But with a bit of luck, here we receive our files now. Final, that would be our lections, or we call it spreadsheets. And now we filter them maybe. So because we only get files at the moment, now we have to make sure that these are spreadsheets. And for that we will take this part again. And we are just making sure that this will be spreadsheets. Else we don't want that actually. So these are our files. Now these are our spreadsheets. Why is the where not working? Because this is a child list, and this has, of course, we await for it. So files dot, what do we get? Items probably. Child references. Could be that it has no self type. It has a kind. Okay, we first have to take a look on what we actually get back from this files part. So because these are not files, these are children. No, that's wrong. Children. Good. So let's see, we have this get filed, which is currently red. The body might complete, casual causing null. Okay, and what we return is T at the moment. Just to make it all run and build time compiled. So you get the files at the moment, which leads also to problems. Can't be assigned to a variable of type. Yep. So what we do is we wait for that, and the easiest part, we just return it. So don't forget, not everything is perfect at the moment. So we have only the files, and we only and do everything inside of here. But actually we could split that, right? Because get files does now a lot of things. It gets all these information, and it goes also the others, and now it wants to work on them together and things like that. So we could also create multiple functions for that in our repository. I quickly close the window. It's pretty cool. So opening up, here we go, and we are already in the debugger. So let's have a look how tiers look like. So we have now the children, and we want to wait for this call. So evaluate, cannot evaluate, that's unlucky. So what do we see? We have files, we have folders. Folder ID, good. So inside of these folders, we have created by, we have embedded links, we have the file size, ID, okay. But we don't have children, I guess, right? Owners, parents, self-ID, spaces. No, this is just Google Drive. Yeah. And we have at the moment 4 folders. Also interesting. Did something changed, or did I? We have the Flashcard app itself is also a folder. Okay, so I have to remove that probably. Do we see that somewhere? The name? Learning Hindi, no, that's not it, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, but this is another thing that we will solve in a sec. I first want to get a print here for children, and I make the breakpoint here, let that run, and hot restart. Now. Okay, so what is inside of this child list? We have items with a child reference. This is just a link. Okay, so that doesn't help me a lot, I guess. On the other side. No, I don't get what I need actually. That's a bit sad. Okay, so we changed too much, and I think that is not worth it, because if we don't get the infos that we anyway needed, so unfortunately we have to roll back. I think I changed too much without the benefit that I wanted to get. So that's of course a bit unfortunate, because it changed also here a lot. But we have to... No, that was correct, I think, so yeah. And also here we can revert. No, this is what we want actually to achieve, so that's okay. But I have to think once more. So we get all the files, and here are also the folders inside. I just have to collect them together somehow in a better way. I think it was good that we said, okay, we get here a list of all files, and we receive them also here, right? We don't, we make this where check. So we could say get files and folders, and we would not make this where check here. We just return it immediately. And now from here on, we have now business logic. Now we start to connect everything together, because if I remember right, we have now everything. So we can say also that we know everything about these files and folders. So at the end, we want to get only spreadsheets, but with the correct folder inside of it. Let me quickly think if I have that correctly in mind. So we have a file information with the parent folder name. We only have one parent, so we don't need to create a full tree. Now inside of here, we get all the files, and the files are linked with the ID. So what I could check is if the files dot, wait, let me quickly write to-dos because I stand somehow on the edge. I have to think. So we want to get the files, and inside of files, we have parents, right? And these parents are connected with IDs. So now we want to get all spreadsheets and check for the parents by ID. And after that, we want to set the value of the parent name to the folder name. Okay. That is easy enough, I guess. So, okay, so we have our files that are all the files and folders actually. So we could rename that too. So files and folders. Good. Now we want our spreadsheets. That is files and folders. And actually this is the method that we had beforehand with this where condition and everything. So this is from files and folders dot, and now we pass in this where condition with toList. One dot too much, but something like that. Good. So now we have the spreadsheets, and we could also make the same thing for folders. So by replacing this with folders, so, and now we can say every spreadsheet for each var spreadsheet in spreadsheets. We can now search for the parent ID in folders, like folders.where element dot, wait, not in the, where? Exactly, element.id equals, sorry, one too much, spreadsheet dot parents. It has multiple parents, but we know it has only one. Maybe that works. Let's see. And we get the ID here. Yeah, we can try that with a null check. Okay, so we have where element ID is the spreadsheet parents ID. So now we receive one folder. So instead of where, we use find. Is there something where first or first where exactly? Because we only get one folder at the end. So why final folder? And now we have to take the spreadsheet and mutate it. And what we want is we create now the necessary file information from it. And the file is our spreadsheet. Also here, and here inside we use the folder dot. The folder is now also a file, and this folder has a title. If it's null, then we get an empty string. Good. Now we have to collect that into a list. We have again our list of file information. T equals empty list. And then we say t dot add. And we are adding the whole part here. Something went wrong. Okay. So first where, make that a bit cleaner. So now we add that, and at the end we return our T. So we check our spreadsheets, we get our folders, we check everything inside there, we don't make any unnecessary recursives, and we make no network requests anymore. Looks like a decent solution, I think. So we could test that also pretty easily because we don't have too much dependencies. I think in general this is not too shabby. I'm very happy with that solution. Any issues that I don't see? Not yet. So let's have a debug and see what happens. Let's run that. Actually, of course, if we would make everything test driven and I wouldn't be too needy to get my feature done, I would have written a lot of tests and try everything correctly and asked, okay, what do I want to achieve with it? But yeah. So coming into T, we get a file size of 4. Learning Flutter, learning Hindi, learning English, learning English. That looks promising. So now it would be even better if we would receive. I mean, with this parent folder name, we can already work, but the downside is at the moment that we probably will not. Let us run that through and let's see how we get ended. So at the moment, our separator don't know anything about it. But if we check our separator, we had said that we want to have the folder name here inside. And the idea would be to get the possible lecture dot parent folder name. Could be null, right? So in the worst case, no, it's not a problem. What's the reason here? It's in constant somewhere. Here, cool. Good. So now we just have to check if our possible lecture dot parent folder name is unequal to null. For now, I don't know. It's always set. Yeah, of course. Okay. So now we have for each element we get learning Flutter. And the problem is at the moment we don't see anything following. How can we make that a little bit cleaner? And also the separator always starts with the second one, right? So it doesn't start at the beginning. So we would need to do something else, I guess. We need somehow to organize these things. The first question is the separator the best idea to do that? And I'm not sure with that, because what we could also do is we can use the future builder that we have inside of here. And if we have the data, then we can collect these things together. And what do we collect and how do we collect them? So at the end, what we want is a list of spreadsheets inside, and this will be our folder, right? So at the moment, we return in our file service always these file information itself as a list, which is very easy to read. But what would be if we have a list of file information, and inside of the parent list, we would have the information about the folder name. And in the second one, we would have the other things. I have to still think a little bit. What we also could do is having a folder, and then we say, okay, we have in our models class folder, which has a final string, and I think this is the best possibility. And then we have a final list of file information, and these are our children in any kind. I don't know children best name, but something like that. And then we could say we get the folders with the name and have then our file information underneath files, or spreadsheets better. That is our lection folder. I don't know. Lecture is the name. Lecture folder. And that would be our lecture information. Lecture information. So we'll get rid of this parent folder name here. And I think that would be the best option. So we have that. And in our file service now, what we can do is creating this lecture information. This one complains now a little bit. The idea is that we remove that. And now we have to collect these a little bit. So whenever we have a spreadsheet, or for each folder that we have, we will have also folder information. Again, I have to think a little bit. So I could map them, of course, but that would lead to a problem. What is if there is no file existent inside of it? So we want to create for each folder folders where the ID is correct. So, and now that I know the folder, if folder.name, no. So we would not have a list of lecture information. That would be our folder, spreadsheet folder. What's the name? Lecture folder. Okay, lecture folder. And this is our list. And now inside of here, we will have this list of informations. So for each folder, on the other side, we can just collect them later. I think that would be easier. Yeah, I think that's easier. So if we create for each of these folders, one of these elements here inside, so I could say something like, we have our T, right? And instead of having an empty list, we would use folders.map. And here we have a folder, which then returns us a lecture folder with the name folder.name or title. What was the name? That is spreadsheet. Have to search it here. Title. So, and he wants children, which is an empty list for now. Did I make something wrong? Find. That could be null. Still not a problem. A value of course, to list. Always the same issue. Good. So, but now we created from our folders or lecture folders, we created a title. Now we have the tree first level of the tree, and now inside of these folders we have to collect them. So if we go to that, we know now that the spreadsheet contains a folder or belongs to a folder. And now we want to do something. If the folder ID, no, better, we get this folder. Now we want to find the folder in T, like T find. We get the folders first where? Is that so? No, we want to find T first where? Title element I we need that folder. Quickly have to think, sorry. So we get the folder, we need that folder because there is the title and the ID inside. And now for each of them, we want to collect the spreadsheet as a child. Spreadsheet as a child. So when do we, slowly, okay, so to do. We want to collect the folders. But how does that look in the app later? We can get a map. It's not that easy, okay. We have our folder and I need now to select that. And here I want just to edit. It's easy. It's if the folder.id is equal to or first find. So first folder.firstWhere. FirstWhere the element.id is equal to the folder.id. So if this is identical, then we get one folder back. Why does, it's the name, of course. The name, and here it's the title. They are equal, then we receive our element that we need up there. So this is our lecture folder. So, and this lecture folder, we want to add now a child. Lecture folder dot spreadsheets add, and here we add now the spreadsheet itself. So, and the spreadsheet, of course, is our file information that we got somewhere. Do we have not the whole? So, and adding that part here. So, we get the folder title. I think this one is not true anymore, but everything else should work. File information. It's a different name now. It is lecture information. Good. So now we have added that. And at the end, we can now return T. And you are currently a lecture information, is that correct? Yep, but that's wrong because you get lecture folders actually. Okay, of course our home screen is now broken, but that's fine. We can live with that. But we managed to collect all of them together in a folder. And here inside we get our text that we can now display. And the question is, do we want to use Separator Builder for that? Now a lot of questions come into my mind because this list view here is correct for the folders, and then inside of each list view we want to have new list view. Something like that. So we would create a list view and a list view, which feels a bit ugly. But what we could do is we have a list tile. It's not clean. It is not clean yet. I see the problems coming. But we have now these values here. We have this list view separated. And of course I can go through these possible lectures, which is currently from the lecture folder, and lead to some problems, I guess. Why is your problem? Yeah. Lecture folder. Get that, everything is green again. But if I hot reload, we get some issues. For example, this here. We cannot navigate to a non-spreadsheet ID because now these list tiles is actually not the correct thing. How can we make that cleaner? So instead of like list view separated, we don't. The problem is that the folder is the separator. Maybe it was a stupid idea to create the folders in the first place. If we would have the file and we just recognize if it is a folder or not, that would be also a possibility. So at the moment we know that we have spreadsheets and folders. And what would happen if I make it as easy as possible and say in our lecture information, we would have a Boolean flag like is folder. This would be a Boolean and we add that into our lecture information. And then we have a name and an ID. It can behave exactly the same. The only difference would be is folder would be true or false. And then I would remove all that. But then we still cannot collect them. That wouldn't help. No, I think that is already a good solution. Yeah. Then we have to change our UI. How to zoom in QR code scanner? What do you mean? Pub.dev QR code scanner. So if you want to scan a QR code, what do you mean with zoom in? So like pinch zooming? I think you usually use the camera, so it should be a default thing. So it should work out of the box. If it does not work, you can check if you have like pinch zoom in Flutter. And you can add that to the level on top, for example. But usually it takes the same widgets. Hey Summit, nice to see you. How are you this morning? I have currently some troubles with folder structures. And sorry again for yesterday's quick lose of my internet connection. It was a bit unfortunate. So. We cannot use, unfortunately, anymore the, can cancel that. We cannot use anymore, unfortunately, our list view builder, I guess. The reason is, I think, before I delete everything, but the reason is we actually don't need the separator builder. And another thing is, so we can change that to a builder for now. And the other thing is now we receive instead of the files itself, we receive now the elements. Perfect morning, great stuff, love that. Good. Let me think quickly. So we have our list view builder. We want to create, so we cannot navigate at the moment. That doesn't work anymore. So we want to create a row and after that a list view. So what we can do, and this should be the easiest way, we can just say, okay, if this is a folder, yeah, why not? This should be possible, right? I can say, what do I want to say? I want to return a column. What should be scrollable? Scrollable is everything, right? So if it is a folder or a thing, it doesn't make a difference. We want to make it all scrollable. Get possible lectures. Wait a second. I have an idea. We get that from here. We get our list of lecture folders at the moment. But what we actually need is... Why is it so complicated at the moment? Something is not good. If it's complicated, it is usually not a good thing. Okay, so we get our future builder with a list of folders. Now we want to show one folder in the beginning and then a list of the followings. So in the list view builder, we create our item builder where we pass in the list tile, but somehow this list view builder creates now a wrong amount, right? So our possible lectures that we receive, which is actually possible lecture folders, is not the only count that we have. We have the count of the folders, but what we also have is the for each folder the elements of inside of them. So maybe we have to make a little bit more here inside, and we have the init state part. But this is a calculation, doesn't be as easy as that. Because the length of all visible items should be the length of the folders plus all elements inside of it. So we have this, not only these folders, we have also the children, right? Inside of it. With a custom scroll view would be also possible with Sliver App Bar. Yeah, that would be also a possibility. Would not really solve my problem, right? Or if I maybe you're right. That could work. Oh yeah, that would be a good idea, I guess. Sorry, RMG, I don't understand the question. Zoom in and zoom out QR codes. Sorry, it's you use usually a camera, so it should be the inside of the camera already implemented. So, but let's see if we can use this custom scroll view. Then we have to implement, of course, a lot of ourselves, but that's okay, I guess. So, and if we do that, now here inside, what do we, it can be a const, of course. Does it has children? Oh, I've never, long time not worked with it. So we have a lot of things inside. Anchor, center, controller. It got a controller. Physics, restoration ID, reverse, slivers. Yeah. Okay, and then there was the app bar sliver or something. Sliver app bar. Which would then be our folder name. So for each folder, that would be snapshot data, possible lecture folder, index dot name, and of course this would be the title, I guess. So there is the title text with this. Oh, that's the best idea. I think that's a good one. Hey Buenas Tuts, nice to see you. Thank you, Cass. That's a good idea, I guess. I think with that we solved most of the problems. The only downside, now I don't get an index, so we have to somehow still create the index of the different folders. I have to iterate over them. And how do I do that? I can say 4 possible lecture folder, but I want to create yeah, of course, in possible lecture folders. You see, it's in the morning, you know, my head is not there where it belongs. So we have this. I don't know if this works with that here, but something like that. Yep, that's working. So now we don't have an index, but we don't need it. This is a lecture folder. And then here below of this sliver app bar, we need, of course, actually, I need something like that. So we have to generate that. So what we would do is having that part here, creating a method out of it. Create a method out of it? No? Okay, then I have to do it myself. So create lecture sliver. Create the method. Inside of here we return widgets. So, and now we can do a little bit more. Get this below here. Have this for loop running. Get this one. And at the end, what we want to return is a list of widgets. App bar list. I can return index of any option on React. I have some opinions on React. I don't necessarily don't like it. I really like to make static websites with it. Big thumbs up for Gatsby, for example. Pretty awesome. And this for loop, I can do it with a list. I could create multiple. No, that's also not possible. And you mean I can, yeah, of course, I can use the spread operator. That is what you mean, right? So if I do that, I can have something like this, pass in these elements inside, and then something like that. Honestly, I've never done that, Cass, so thanks you for the suggestion. That's a great thing. So what we do is we create a new array inside, and because of the spread operator, we pass it inside of the slivers again. So with that, we clean the whole thing up and it works, which is a bit yeah, amazing in my opinion. For React Native, well, I'm not so big fan of React Native. The downsides are tremendously from time to time, and also their rendering engine always has a lot of hiccups, so not really a big fan. And also I know that the Google front is pretty strong behind Flutter, and I have the feeling that Facebook is not that good. Tile. So we want now to have at least some text. So Sliver app bar was a good idea. And what could we do for the files? I think we could have just the text. I don't know if there is a Sliver text. Sliver hit test return. What do we have for slivers? I think Sliver container, right? And then inside of that, Sliver container, Sliver constraints, Sliver. Oh, I've not long. Sliver container, not sure. You can simply use Sliver to box adapter. Are there more documentation? Sliver container class. Stateless widgets. Can I see something? Ah, here's the Sliver documentation. Sliver card, Sliver container. No, is that a package? Boxy package. Ah, this is not what I want. Sliver to box adapter. Okay, I can try that. Hey, coding with VHS. Hope you're well. Sliver to box adapter. And then here we have our child, and there could be a text, for example. But of course, we need to do here also a for loop, right? Because now we want to for var lecture in lecture folder dot spreadsheets. And now we do the same thing more or less. Or we can now create it, I think, for each of them. Then we have lecture.name. Something like that. We want to make it pressable and have also more stuff inside of it, but just for now, that should be it. Let's start the app and let's see how it looked like. But I like that we make our own sliver. That was a good idea. Of course, we need to make our own. Sliver list in the custom scroll view. Ah, can I? So I could even... So inside of here, we would have a sliver list. Ah, nice. That's better. True. Ah, then we use the sliver delegates. Ah, yeah. Sliver child delegate. I think there... and I think we can build them, right? There was something in my mind. Mahtab did there a fantastic video about that, when automatic keep alive, render, abstract constructor, sliver child builder delegate, which is delegate that uses a builder callback, or child which is delegated that explicit list of children. So we can use the builder because we don't know the amount of things, so something like that. And then inside of here, we have all the possibilities like builder, which then gets some things inside. No? What is it that you need? You get a builder, and the builder is a nullable index builder, which is a function of builder, context, and index. Okay. We have builder, which is context and index, and should return something. No? Ah, the first one is like this. And then we return something like a container. And instead of a container, we use this text widget here. And I think that's it. And we remove this for loop. And lecture gets now, yeah, of course, we get now from the delegate context. Where does he get the index from? That's a good question. So if we have the builder, what else can we have? The child count. and the child count is lecture folder dot spreadsheets dot length, of course. So, and now I know that we have the lecture folder, spreadsheets, and here can I access the index now, like that. And of course we have to create a variable for that. And I think we can reuse that inside. Ah, no, we cannot. Okay, so that's fair enough. Good. So it took a while. Actually longer than I would expect it, because it's not too difficult. But hey, we have our sliver. It's not looking perfect yet, but we're coming closer to it. So now what we can do, instead of returning this text, we can now do again what we had before. And I would change that to a element. So, and we return here a list tile with our title that we had before and with an on tab that we also had already. So on tab, and here we navigate now again. So hopefully I have it still in my copy paste thingy. So spread operator file. Do we have something with homepage? Unlucky. Okay, so homepage dot navigate. Was it homepage or homepage? Homepage dot. Do I have to import it first? Yeah. Dot navigate to. We give the context inside and the spreadsheet ID, which we will get from the lecture spreadsheet index dot ID. So we have the tab. Now we can have also a trailing where we had the icon inside, icons dot arrow right. This one, and that's it. And thanks to you, Cass, I think we managed it to come back again. So it looks already like we had it before, but this time with yeah, more on top of it. It doesn't navigate, which is a bit sad. So where's the reason? On tab, gesture detector, blah blah blah. Unimplementing handling of missing static target. Okay. Let's quickly kill that once more and restart. Nice. But this is a cool trick. I really have to learn that, because that is an amazing trick to get things done. So we get our elements. Can I click it now? Yeah. And we get our Hindi, or we get our Hello World in English. So the only downside at the moment is this Flashcard App folder that nobody needs. So what I will do is this is something perfect for our service, because what we need is to remove that folder from the list here. So this folder, where folder, and where element, the element dot name or title is equal to, is unequal to, what's the name? Flashcard App. Flashcard App. So, hot restart. And it should remove it. Perfect. So it was the easiest way to remove it. Probably this will be not the best solution. Okay. Hey, Untitled J, ready. How are you today? So we have that now. Sadly, I cannot scroll it. I'm not completely sure if it is a problem with the macOS, but why can I not scroll it? I think the sliver should be scrollable, no? Did I make something wrong? So we have this sliver app bar, we have this custom scroll view. Why is the custom scroll view not scrolling? That's a weird question. Custom scroll view not scrolling. Instead of the sliver box to achieve what I needed, I then. Okay. Sliver fill remaining. That is true, Aniket. I created already a video that will come, I think, in 3 weeks, I hope. It should be ready already. Where I talk about server-client architecture in Flutter and Dart, where we talk about Dart shelf package and how to use it. And this will be the beginning of a series where I try to be a bit more backend specific with Dart. So we will talk about things like WebSockets, shelf, conduct, or conduit is the name, and things like that. And we will try to implement them, and I will explain use cases where these things are needed. But it will be a future project because we have a bit more to do it. I don't know if Dart before breakfast is but it's enjoyable so far. That's good. That's a good point because my coffee is empty and I didn't have breakfast either. But we will come to that. So, but we have a problem, right? We cannot scroll at the moment, which is very sad. And great, I got a project allocated. Hey, congratulations. That's always good. And the other part, what if the domain is based on a different language that is, I don't know. Don't worry, the programming languages are usually pretty similar to each other. And you will, well, if you are dedicated to it and you want to learn it, you will be very fast at getting up to speed pretty soon, I promise you. Okay, so this custom scroll view is not scrollable for me. And the reason we have the sliver list. Can it be that the sliver list makes us a problem? I'm not sure. So we have this sliver list. If the children have a fixed extent in the main axis, consider using rather than sliver list, because sliver does not need to perform layout on its children to obtain the extent in the main axis and therefore more efficient. Places multiple box children in a linear array along the main axis. Is forced to the cross-axis extent. Okay. Its scroll offset by dead recognition. Yeah, it's morning in Germany. As you can see, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Still cannot scroll it. But what I can imagine, could it be that this part's inside? Ah, it is scrollable. Okay, so it is because I'm on a Mac OS. I cannot scroll by tapping and moving. I have to scroll with the scroll wheel. That is working. Okay. Yeah, true. 4-hour difference. You can see that's difficult. Okay, so we have that. We are scrollable. We can select everything inside. I'm pretty happy with the solution now. So what we can do is we implement the feature now. Folder, headline, no. Folder are now visible on top of the files. Created a small tree and added the lessons below. What is that? Today, so good. So we have all of that running. We can go to our GitHub. I think I can tick off this one because we get now the folder structure with it. Now let's see if our build pipeline runs through. And on the other side, we need to write some tests still. So if you remember, I talked already that we have currently here a lot of going on without tests. So this whole part here has not a single test, which my coworkers would hate me for. So let's try to create a test for this file service here. So create a folder inside of the domain, which is the file service test start. And with Command-Shift-T, you usually can jump between these. Why is it not working? Because I wrongly named it, the file service. So now it's possible. So if the file name is matching, besides of the test behind of here, IntelliJ is possible to identify the file that you want to test. Okay, so did someone listen from the last time? So how do we do that? First, we need a main method, right? So main returns void. And inside of the main method, we have a group. And here we have a group description, and inside of here we have a test. So this is how the usual workflow is. I just made it a bit quicker. So, and now it says me that I have to import the Flutter test library, and we are done. We can start. Cool. So is it true that in Germany developers get paid high? Yeah, that's true. The reason is we don't have enough, and the problem is also that we are from digitalization space pretty far behind at the moment. But we don't get as high paid as Australia, New Zealand, America, England. So if you are a freelance developer and search for really big money, go to Switzerland, England, New Zealand, Australia, and America, because they get paid even higher. J. Michael, hi. So just for your info, I created these live templates inside of IntelliJ. If you remember the last time, for our Dart testing part, that I'm getting a bit faster here. As what I could see is that a semicolon is missing at the end, which always led to errors. So if you remember from the last time, this is just a quick fix that I recommend you. So apply, got it done. Okay. Yes, cost of living is very high, also in Germany. So only you get a lot of money, you pay also a lot. Good. So now we have to say first which method we want to test, and we want to create again our final subject. This is the method under test, which is file services. So can create that. And probably files. Aha, here we have the wrong name. So keep it in sync with the file name, right? Import. So, is this now a good testable class, I ask you? And you remember the last time when we talked about tests, I said something like we need to make dependency injection. And as you can see, we have now a dependency to the Google Drive repository. And you know what that means. We cannot leave it like that, because if we have these dependencies, we cannot test it properly because we cannot mock this Google Drive repository. So what can we do to change that? We have to create a constructor for this file. And inside of here, we have to pass in the sheet repository, this.sheet repo. And now, instead of passing it in here inside, we know just that we have this final sheet repo and it is required. So we could use this, but as you know, we are not working with a material or Flutter constructor here, so we cannot use that here. But because this is unnullable, we know that we have to provide it. So all our services that are using this file service will complain now. And if we take a look where it is used, it is not here, but in the lessons screen. Here we have now to pass in the Google Drive repository as a new instance. Because this one is not dependent on anything, it's no problem. It's just that you know that, because this is how constructor dependency injection works and decouples the things. And the good thing is now we are able to create these services with our own Google Drive repository. And we did that already in our flashcard service, and we did that with this generated mocks thing. If you remember, we use Mockito for that. And we need the same thing here now, but with the name of the Google Drive repo. So, does someone remember why we need these things here and how does that work together? In the meantime, I can generate with Flutter build. Up. Do we have yeah, we have everything here, perfect. So we can let the build runner run. And in the meantime, I put on some jacket because we code. Slowly getting in the winter time, which we feel a lot. So fall and or autumn is the right name, I think. Yeah. Good. And this has running through. And as we can see, we created this mocks file here. And this mocks file we can now use wherever we are. And I used the wrong name. And this mock G drive file can be should be possible to use actually. How did we do it here? Mock sheet repo. Ah, we have to create it first. Okay, that's no biggie. We know that. So on the other side, I can just do it this way, I guess. No? Why not? Function mock G drive is not defined. Correcting the name mock G drive repo. Create class mock G drive repo. Mock sheet repo. I'm a bit surprised. Okay. So can I do it here? No, also not. Repo equals this one. No? Mock sheet repo. No, I'm pretty sure that this is correct. Now I'm a bit confused. Where's the problem? This does now maybe not inside of our... Do I have to import something that I forgot? Mockito maybe? No, that's not it. Ah, the import of this mocks is missing. But why he... I was actually expecting that he understands that and imports it himself. Files, service, test, mocks.dart. Okay, now he's happy. That was a lot of work. So, taking that, put that here, remove that, put that up here. Great stuff. Or put that below, and then we can have the group name, which is files, service, up. And now we talk about the tests. When something happens, then something happens. Good. And inside of here, we can now call our subject. What do we have for a method that we want to test? We want to test, for example, the get possible lectures. Okay. And now we can test all the different things that we do at the moment, and we can pass in this, that is the wrong feature, or file service. The sheet, it's just wrongly named. This is of course the G drive repo. So, way better. Okay, so with this G drive repo, we have now the power to rename, to change the behavior on what happens here inside. So I create a method for that, a variable. And why do I do that? Because what I can do, I can use the mockito method when, and inside of here I can say, okay, when the mock G drive repo has been called with the method, I don't know what we need. I think we need the get files and folders. Then we return something else. So then, for example, I think we use, is it here or here? Then answer. To be honest, this tab 9 is only starts to confuse me more than it helps me, sadly. So yeah, then answers. And I think I have to import first. Good. Then answers with something. And this is the real invocation that I can make this asynchronous. And now I can answer with whatever I need. So for example, an empty list in my case. Good. So if this is an empty list, then we answer when we call this method here from the mock G drive repository inside of the file service that is currently under test. When we go here inside, this happens exactly at this point in time. So if we call this method then we have to return something specific. And if we return nothing, what would happen is that we receive an empty list. So that would be our assumption at the moment. So we expect that if this is called, thank you for the subscription, Richard. Welcome to our channel. So if this is coming, we expect that an empty list comes through. Thank you, Dali. Great to have you. So when empty, when the service or when the Google Drive returns. Thank you, Sandeep. So many subscribers at the moment. What happened? Oh geez, we got tons of subscribers and somehow my system only understood that now. So hey and welcome everyone. Sorry that I didn't get your information earlier. Okay, when G Drive returns an empty list, then the service returns also an empty list. Hey Hayat, great to have you. What a weird situation. So, and if we run now these tests, let's have a look what happens. So we get a failing because we expected an empty list, but we got an instance of a future of something. So which is not a iterable, which is true. So we have to await, of course. Let that run again. Perfect. And our first test is green. So what we can also do is we can run it with coverage. Hey. So, and if we run it with coverage and jump into the file, we can see now this green elements on the left side. And it shows us that our test had to hit this section at least once. So sadly, the update of this doesn't work that nicely, but at least this gives us an indication on how much test coverage we have at the moment. So you can also check that here on the side. There you can see all the test coverages that IntelliJ has at the moment. So we see that the CSV reader is 100% tested, the file service 66% tested, and Flashcard service is not tested at all. This is of course not a perfect situation. So if you have 100% test coverage, doesn't mean necessarily that you have the perfect tested code and everything, but it gives you an indication that you have tested at least some parts of the app. Okay, so now we have here that nice little name. We can make that small because that happened already. So now let's have a look what happens if we really return something. So when the G Drive returns correct values, then the service should have 3 elements or something like that. When the G Drive returns an folder with 1 spreadsheet, then return it. Service returns it. I don't know, something like that. So these are all positive use cases. Okay. So and now what we can do, nearly the same as before, we first mock what we want to return. So let's take that again. And inside of this list, we need now to specify a bit more. So what would this return in general? It will return a list of files. So we will have a file from the start drive here. So, and what do we need to create this file? We can pass in anything or nothing, I guess. So for example, we need a MIME type that contains, for example, spreadsheet, right? Because we learned that. And we have a title that would be, I don't know, lesson 1. So, and also what we have is the file with the MIME type folder with the title Learning English. So, and if we run that, we would expect when this is the service returns us, then we expect that if we wait for the subject to get us the possible lectures, that we receive something else than an empty list. But I will enter empty list anyway, because I want to see, hey, how does our method now behaves in general? So rerun the whole thing. And we got our issue. So what happens is we received actually a value, even though that we tell our system, hey, you shouldn't get any value at all. So we receive a lecture folder element, which longer than expected. Okay, so interesting, we get one folder. And what we expect actually is that we not only get one folder with a lecture folder, we want one that contains a lecture folder with a, what does it has? A name, I think, and the name should be Learning English. And a spreadsheet that contains something. But let's have a look if this works. So it could be that we have to make a deep equal or something like that, but we will have a look. Okay, so we receive an instance of lecture, but something is wrong. Okay, so now I could go further and further and further, but let's have a look and make and call here the first folder that we receive. Hey PJ, nice to see you. And this first folder should be this one. Okay, so what we can do is taking that outside, call it result. Nope. So. And the result will be this. So. And then we can ask for the first one. So if we run that, it's complaining because we still get the instance of the folder, but what we can say is that the name should be Learning English. At least that is for sure. And if not, we get a different problem. So this is okay, but now we have to also check if the spreadsheet that is containing, and let's say that the length is for now 1. So this would be our expectation, right? We want that there is something inside. And this also is true. So the next thing would be, okay, let's have the spreadsheets first. And now we can ask for the name again. And this needs to be lesson 1, right? And with that, we make sure that these things are true to these two files. And that seems to work already. So if we go now back, we can see that we run through all of that. And as I said, the update is not correct because now we go through the different spreadsheets and it found the right thing because it added the lecture folder to it. So probably if I would restart everything, then the files here would be shown correctly. Okay, so last step, let's commit that we have our first tests running also. That's of course not a test for everything, but it helps us to keep some test coverage up and high, that we at least check for some of the parts. Tested file services and made it more stable. Good, but with that in mind, the last 5 minutes I want to use the time because now let's make this MR green and maybe merge it today. Because I was a bit sad that we cannot do that so long. And if my coworker in my company would get such an MR, I would get something on my feeds, I guess, because 23 files is quite a lot for one MR. But today I'm a solo dev, I can do whatever I want, right? So no problems at all. Okay, so if we look here inside, we get that the Flutter Analyzer complains about constant constructors in the main.dart. Have a look there, main.dart. Aha, so we forgot to have a const here. And this is not possible anymore, or isn't a class? Okay, that was weird. Good, so fixed linting issue. Good, and now let's have a quick code review. Even though that I have created most of the stuff myself, Before I give it to someone else to review the code, so like yourself, I would always have a quick sanity check if everything for myself works correctly with that. So what did we do? It seems that we updated the Dart YAML file. And the reason for that is that we have this build runner now implemented. So that makes sense. It's viewed. Then we git ignored the .mox files. So whenever you want to create these things for yourself, you will have to do this mox.dart. So we have also viewed this. The analyzers options. So we excluded them from the analyzer. So whenever there something happens, we don't want to know about it. Also good. These are some debugging. I think this has just to do with creating the Flutter release and also upgrading to the newest version of Dart. So we can ignore these for fine. These are the credentials to call with the Flashcard user so that we get the information from our Google Drive. That's okay. We have the file service.dart. This is the new one that we have created to get the spreadsheets and the files. So does it look good? Let's have a look. We have the files, we get them from the repository. We ask for spreadsheets, we ask for folders besides of the Flashcard app. We map through them and oh, we have here still a T. That is a bad thing. So we don't want to have that. So what is T? T in our case is lecture folders. So this is our result at the end that we want to return. So we can just call it result, I guess. And with that, we are a bit cleaner. Good. Do we have anything else before I start to commit it? So we have this, we return that, that's okay. We have the flashcard service.dart. We ask the entry list, we get our headline, which is always the first entry. And after that, we ask for just until 1000. So the lections cannot be longer than 1000, but I think that's also good for now. We have file information.dart. Okay, so we improved the models from our domain layer. We changed the name of homepage to, we changed the first page that we show in our app to the lesson selector page. Okay. Then we have our out repo to connect with the registered HTTP client via the spreadsheets, if you remember. So also that works. We have the Google Drive repository that is accessing now the files and folders. In it, we wait for it, we call for the files and return them. Good. So we have the list of lists. Yeah, this is the repository of sheets, exactly. So there we receive something weird, more or less, that we have to transpile. That works also already. So the homepage screen has changed quite a lot because we have now these questions that we receive. And also we removed some elevations. I think that's all good. Okay. Lesson selector screen. Yeah, that is the small screen that we created at the end with the custom scroll view and the scroll widgets. Nice, nice, nice. Thank you, Cass, once more for your help here. Some debugger, macOS pod file, more interesting for the Flutter upgrade, I guess. As you can see, the most of the line changes comes also from the pubspec.log, so that's all good. Then we have the tests where we write some tests, that's also fine. And we have the last test, cool. So all in all, I would approve that. I cannot approve my own one, so maybe one of you has the time to approve myself, and if not, I would merge it then anyways. So the build pipeline is also green. As we can see, all checks have passed. And with that, I would say, let's merge that. I don't squash it anymore. That is the thing that I did beforehand. What we could do is rebasing it, but I think that doesn't make a difference at the moment. Okay, so we pushed and rebased, and with that, we have our changes on top. And things that we can do in the next live stream would be improving our readme.md, having some about me things, release maybe the first version now that we have some things like that. And yeah, I think that sounds already like a very good solution. If you have the time, please feel free to add some more lessons to it and add maybe also more knowledge that you have. because it would be great if our app would be then released in the App Store and we can play a bit around with it as a team. Cool. If you have questions, as always, let me know. Write down in the comments below. We have tomorrow the next live stream, or today, I'm not sure yet. We have come pretty far, I guess. Oh no, I forgot about that. No, now it's T inside, so... Okay. That was of course a mistake from my side, so we get the newest version. And I know, not a good thing, but what I will do is I will rename that to result and have a PR review here. Rename of T for better readability. And now I will do bad things, then I will force push. Yay. It was not even necessary to make a force push. It was just a push. Ah, well, anyway. So we have all these things. We have pushed it. We are on a pretty good stage. So where was I? I wanted to say thank you for watching. It was a very nice session this morning. I learned a lot, and I think we have implemented a lot with our sliver list. We have now the possibility to select our different things. Not sure if we want to keep that header here or if we want to redesign the things, and I think we should, because at the moment it's a bit design-less. We can navigate to the flashcard implementation. We see already the text, which can be changed later. We have now the possibility to open up our cards. And the next point would be also to have some statistics, like how much did I know, and also what would be interesting to implement the feature of knowing in which level you know these cards, right? So being in box 1 or 5. Okay, that's it for today or for now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope we see us soon. And yeah, feel free to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Bye everyone. Oh, finding the button. You are most welcome, everyone.